you so much. Thank you very much. Thanks, Amy, and thanks so much. It's an honor, really, to be here with all of you. And I think it's hugely important as we're in the process of trying to make sure that we do everything we can to secure our border, that people are reminded of the human cost and of the toll and of the tragedy when we don't secure our border. Nobody knows that cost more than these angel families who are here with us today. We stand with them. We are absolutely committed to working with them, to fighting with them. No family should ever have to go through what they've gone through because of illegal immigration. We want to make sure that no families have to go through that again. So when you hear people saying that it's immoral to build a wall, I hope you will all think of these families, think of these photos, and remember that what is truly immoral is failing to protect this nation, failing to protect families like these, failing to protect our citizens from the crimes, from the vicious attacks that they have had to endure, and losing loved ones to illegal immigration. It is absolutely preventable. We have an absolute opportunity and requirement and duty to prevent it. And the House Republicans stand with President Trump to make sure that we do everything possible to secure our border, to stop illegal immigration, and to keep families safe. And I thank you. And I want to say thank you to all of these angel families who've traveled here today, in spite of their tragedy, to make sure that this doesn't happen to other families. So thank you for being here. And I'd like to now turn it over to our House Republican Whip, Steve Scalise.
Thank you, Liz. I really want to thank the angel families, but let you know that our hearts and our prayers are with the families of everybody who's lost a loved one because somebody that was here illegally took their life. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen in America, and thank God we have Donald Trump, who not only campaigned and said he would build the wall, but he's fought to secure our border, to keep America safe. That's ultimately what this battle is about that we're in right now. We've been able to get the president some money to start building the wall, but over 500 miles remain to be built. And there are areas of our border where our national security experts, the men and women in the Department of Homeland Security who risk their lives to keep us safe, have said they need more tools. They need more barriers. And you can call it what you want, but a physical barrier that keeps the bad people out is what we ultimately need. And let's keep in mind, America is the most generous nation in the world when it comes to immigration. Don't let anybody tell you this is about closing our borders. We let over 1 million people into our country every single year legally. No other country's close. So America will continue to be the most generous nation, but we're also a nation of laws, and we need to get back to that rule of law. And keep in mind, there have been presidents, Democrat and Republican, who promised to secure the border but didn't follow through for various reasons. The time for excuses is over. Donald Trump is not about excuses. Donald Trump is a man of action who wants to follow through on this promise. And it's not just a promise that he made during the campaign. He listened to our experts. He asked our men and women of Border Patrol, of ICE, to tell him what tools they need. And they've done that. And he put a plan together, and he asked Congress to fund it. Nancy Pelosi stood up and she said she doesn't even want ICE. She wants to abolish ICE. Think about this. This is the agency that saved hundreds of children from human trafficking last year alone. Why would she want to get rid of that agency? But that's what's at stake here. And so when I think about this fight, it's very personal for me, too, why we're ensuring that we secure our border. I think about the mother of Spencer Chauvin. Spencer Chauvin was a firefighter in the New Orleans area in St. John the Baptist Parish who was just doing his job serving his community one day when an illegal alien killed him, took his life. And Spencer's mom called me a few months ago, and I talked to her. We had a wonderful conversation. She's a wonderful woman. She's an angel mom. And she said, please secure our border. Look, when Nancy Pelosi says she doesn't want to secure the border, I remind her of Spencer Chauvin. There should not be another Spencer Chauvin in America where a life is taken by somebody who's here illegally because our country failed to secure the border. We're backing President Trump because he's doing the right thing to stand up and secure our border, put that physical barrier in place so we can get back to a system of legal immigration where our laws work for all Americans and for everybody who wants to come here to seek the American dream.
Thank you. Thank you.
And now I'd like to bring up our Republican leader, Kevin McCarthy.
Thank you very much. And on behalf of the House of Representatives, I want you to know our prayers and condolences are with all the Angel families. I could not imagine the burden and the pain of losing your child, because it did not have to happen. First, I want to thank you all for the courage to come here, the courage to share, because the message has to go across. The tragic situation, because every person in the House of Representatives has a responsibility. They have a responsibility first to make sure this nation is safe, and that means our border. We have a president that's willing to make that message across this nation and have that fight. Why? You look at the faces who have been lost for those in the past who would not make that challenge. I make this commitment to you that we will continue to make the fight happen until we make sure our borders are secure.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have found that there is an opportunity. There's an opportunity to make sure America is safe. We believe in legal immigration. We believe this country is a melting pot. We believe the individuals can come. But that also means our borders need to be secure, because individuals, one, have been killed. Two, the human trafficking that comes across, the amount of drugs. These are things that cannot be ignored, that have to be debated in this debate that we're having before Congress today. I asked members on both sides of the aisle. You took an oath to uphold the Constitution. You took an oath to defend this nation. You have a responsibility to secure this nation so there will not be more Angel families. And that's our commitment to you, and we will uphold it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, dear. God bless you. And with that, I'm going to bring up Rose Tennant. She's a syndicated radio host out of Pennsylvania, and she's going to introduce our other guests.
Thanks, Amy. I think I speak for all of you here. We'd like to thank you, Amy, for your time. You are so selfless in this battle, and you give everyone here a voice that they wouldn't ordinarily have. You're just
about them.
You're such a blessing to all of these people here, and I know they appreciate that so much. Someone who doesn't hold anything back when it comes to border security is someone you've probably seen a lot and heard a lot from, and we appreciate his work. Former director of ICE, Tom Homan.
He's coming right here.
Tom.
Hey, look, I'm glad to be here with Angel Moms and Angel Dads. I deeply respect Mr. Scalise and Meadows and Cheney, but I'm not going to be that nice. I'll call a few people out. Senator Menendez this morning says DUI is not a crime. 10,000 people a year die from DUIs, 28 people a day. So if an illegal alien gets arrested for DUI, they shouldn't be regarded as a criminal alien. That is disgusting.
Yes.
And that comes from a man who should be in prison himself. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wants to abolish ICE. She says ICE doesn't prioritize and they separate families. 9 out of 10 of everybody ICE arrested last year, 9 out of 10, to be exact, 87.6%, had a criminal history or were pending criminal charges when they were found. That's pretty good prioritization. And you can't say, concentrate on only the criminals and not let us in your sanctuary jails. That's just ridiculous. Concentrate on criminals, but don't come in the jail where you can find them. House Appropriations Chairman Roboy Allard the other day said, by cutting ICE's beds, we're going to force them to concentrate on criminals and stop arresting law-abiding immigrants. ICE has never arrested a law-abiding immigrant. ICE arrests people in the country illegally in violation of federal law. They're illegal aliens. When you enter this country illegally, you commit a crime. When you get at billions of dollars of taxpayers' expense, you get due process, and a federal judge orders you removed, and you don't leave. That is not law-abiding. If the message the Democrats want to continue to send, it's okay to violate the laws of this country. It's okay to enter this country illegally. As long as you don't commit another crime, it's okay, because I shouldn't be looking for you. If that's the message we're going to send to the rest of the world, you're never going to solve the border crisis. It's never going to end. Nancy Pelosi. The other day I was on a show and I was asked about her, And I said I thought she was disgusting. And what she does is disgusting. Let me tell you why. Because the last time I stood at this podium, the angel moms, the angel dads tried to meet with her. She wouldn't meet with them. But she'll meet with illegal aliens. She says her walls are immoral and ineffective. But she has yet to talk to one Border Patrol agent. President Trump, the greatest president in my generation, because he not only does he talk the talk, he walks the walk.
Yes.
Who's done more in 2 years than any other president done in 8 when it comes to border security. Even though he's got all this resistance against him, look what he has accomplished.
Yes.
And if they wouldn't resist him, if every Republican Democrat would believe that this nation's security and sovereignty meant something, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. What's the downside in securing the border? What's the downside on less illegal immigration that bankrolls criminal organizations that have killed Border Patrol agents? What's the downside on less drug trafficking in this country? There's no downside in securing our border. It is ridiculous. So I'm here today in support of the men and women that have lost their children to immigrant crime. And let me say here today, I'm not saying every illegal immigrant that comes across that border is a criminal. But I will say this, when they enter the country illegally, they have committed a crime. Yes. And all these people that make these fraudulent claims to political asylum, I can't blame anybody for wanting to be a part of the greatest country on earth, but their first 2 actions when they step foot in this country is to commit 2 crimes. Entry this country illegally and committing immigration fraud. 91% of Central American families lose their case when they get to court. Less than 2% have left. That's not respecting this country. So unless we all get together and keep supporting this president and what he's trying to do, this president can fix the border. I'm telling you, for over 3 decades, I've seen it can't, push it down the road, push it down the road, push it down the road. We finally have a president that knows how to fix it because he has been to the border. He has talked to Border Patrol agents. He calls me and talks to me. He wants to talk to the people who've done the job for 3-4 decades. What works, what doesn't work. Name another president that's done that. Name one Democrat in this building, in Democratic leadership, whether it's Schumer or Pelosi, or name one that went down there and talked to him. But they rushed down there to demand an investigation in the death of 2 children that crossed the border illegally and died, which is a tragic, tragic story. But while they're down there demanding investigation, the men and women of the Border Patrol that did everything they could to save those lives, they never asked them what they thought about this country's security and what they needed down there to get their jobs done. So I'm going to keep fighting. I hope you all keep fighting with us too. And to the angel moms and dads, let's hope that the Democratic leadership actually meets you and hears your story. And maybe they'll understand it's not a manufactured crisis. We're losing this country.
Exactly.
Yeah. And with the deal that was announced yesterday, I see some Republicans saying, oh, it's a good deal. That's a terrible deal. Terrible deal. Illegal immigration is going up, and they're taking beds down. I don't care how smart you are. That doesn't make sense. All he says 49,000 people in custody. They want to give them 42,000. What's that mean? That means releasing 7,000. If you got to average by the end of the year 42,000, and you've been at 49,000 first half of the year, now you got to go 7,000 below, which means you're going to get down 35,000. That's releasing 14,000 people. Where is that? Where does that make sense to anybody releasing criminal aliens? Not because it makes sense, not because I think Democrats are really against it, it's because there's resistance against this president. They don't want to give this president a win on the border. This is the politics at its worst. And I won't shut up, and I hope you all continue fighting the fight.
Appreciate it.
With that, I want to make the next introduction because there's a guy I want to introduce you to. His name is Mark Morgan. He was the chief of the Border Patrol in the Obama administration. I worked with him. And Mark called me one day. Now, Mark was the chief, and Trump came in, President Trump, and made a change. So some people would be upset with that. Mark called me one day and saw me on Fox a lot and said, hey, man, how do I join the fight? Because I'm done being silent. I think a wall needs to be built. You know what Mark shared with me today? Because I told him how upset I was over the Menendez comment on DUI. Mark lost his father DUI. So he's even more insulted to this. So here's a real patriot, a friend of mine, and he's coming to join me with this fight. Mark Morgan, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, look, what does today represent? It's clear. Look around you. Look at these angel families. This is undeniable truth and fact. The threat we face along the southwest border due to uncontrolled illegal immigration and unsecured borders. This is not hyperbole. This is not manufactured. And anybody that says it is, they're lying to the American people. Just look right here. And yesterday, look, I want to try to stay out of this and naming names because Tom does it better than I could. But I do want to talk about a congressman who yesterday got out there and wanted to downplay the crime of driving drunk. I just a few minutes ago talked to an Angel family that lost a loved one at the hands of an illegal immigrant that shouldn't have been here, was driving drunk, and now their loved one is dead. And you're going to have a congressman say that that doesn't matter, that doesn't count? Well, I wonder, how about he comes and talks to that family? How about he comes and talks to 10,000 plus Americans that die every year at the hands of a drunk driver and say that doesn't count? It's irresponsible, it's reckless, and they're lying to the American people. So it's about time. When I want everybody in this country to just take a minute, take a pause, and think about this. How many more Angel families do we have to create before we say enough is enough? How many more American citizens have to die at the hands of an illegal immigrant that shouldn't be here before we say enough is enough? How many? We should be united together, but we should be united together not as a Republican, not as a Democrat, right? Americans. We should be united as Americans, standing together, shoulder to shoulder, to say enough is enough. Not one more American citizen should die, should give their life because we have a broken immigration system and unsecure borders.
That's right. That's right.
So it's about time, everybody, me, you, everybody, we put aside our individual political ideology. As Tom said, listen to the experts. Put aside the political idea. The president has done that. The president, I know, the president is listening to the experts. So I hope the president's okay with this, but this isn't his plan. This is the experts' plans. They have said we need more physical barrier in certain critical key locations. We need additional technology. We need more personnel, right? So why aren't we listening to the experts? Why aren't we giving them the tools and the resources that they have asked for to protect our country so that we can stop another Angel family from being created?
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
So what I will say today, the proposal, Tom, I'm with him. This proposal doesn't do it. A down payment is not enough.
No.
We need to give the men and women. 128 Border Patrol agents have lost their lives protecting our borders. That's another thing that's not hyperbole or manufactured. Why aren't we giving them the tools and the resources they need to protect our borders? We should. So let's keep fighting. Yep. And I'm going to keep fighting too. All right? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce the former Kansas Secretary of State, but now with We Build the Wall, Chris Kobach.
Go, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. You know, 2 weeks ago, I was standing under Anzalduas Bridge in McAllen, Texas, which is now one of the most heavily trafficked areas for people coming in. Some estimates are that the majority of illegal aliens are now coming in right there under that bridge, 3 miles wide open, right next to the city of McAllen. In a half hour, we saw about 35 people walking in broad daylight. And they were planning to go rendezvous with a Border Patrol van and immediately make a false claim of asylum, like Tom Homan mentioned. And then they'll be given a piece of paper and sent on their way, released into the American public. That area needs a wall, and it needs it quickly. 1 week ago, I was standing on top of Montezuma Pass, which is right on the border. It's a peak right on the border. And if you look to the east, toward Naco in Arizona, there's more than a dozen miles of 18-foot-high bollard fence. It has effectively sealed the border. If you look toward the west, toward the American Patagonias, you have a 20-mile wide-open stretch where the traffickers are just coming right in. Spoke to some Border Patrol officers who were making an apprehension in that very area. And as I see the illegal aliens coming in through McAllen, and I know they're coming in Arizona, my question is, if 100 came in today, how many of that 100 are going to get behind the wheel drunk and kill an American, like as has been the experience of so many families here? How many of that 100 are going to engage in crime while they're here and kill or injure an American? There is a cost to the open border. Now, it was mentioned earlier that there's 500 miles open. No, it's not 500 miles open. There's about 1,800 miles of open border. And I count anything that a pedestrian can't get past as an open border. Sometimes the government says it's not open if there's a barbed wire fence and there's a steel beam about this high called a Normandy barrier to stop a car. No, that's an open border. Any pedestrian can hop over that in less than 30 seconds. We have to get busy, and get busy now securing this wall. Even if President Trump gets every penny he asks for, there's no way in the next 2 years we're going to be able to seal up that 1,800 miles. That's why We Build the Wall was formed by an Air Force veteran, triple amputee Brian Kolfage, to say, you know what, we the people can help too. Yes. We can raise private money, and with that money we can build on private land, and that's what we're doing to help the federal government, because it's a huge task, and the government can't do it alone. And so we the people can do it. And so we found it started as a GoFundMe page. Now it's a separate organization, WeBuildTheWall.us. And we want to stand with the Angel families, because that is why we need to build the wall, to protect all of us. Look, our country is looking for people who will stand in the gap and build the wall. Donald Trump is one of those people. These people behind me are people who are willing to do that. We at We Build the Wall are willing to do that. We have to say, yeah, I'll do it. Whatever I can do, I'll do it. We have to do something now and stop ignoring this massive problem that has been ignored for too long. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, I'd like to introduce the Sheriff of Bristol County, Massachusetts, Sheriff Hodgson.
Good morning. Massachusetts is about 2,200 miles from the southern border, about a 38-hour drive. We have the 7th highest overdose rate in the United States. We have the 2nd most common place to find fentanyl, and 90% of that's coming from the southern border. When I hear people up on the Hill here, these pro-illegal people talking about the fact that we don't need a wall, their parents walking into their children's room in the morning when their young adult children aren't waking up and finding them dead in bed because of overdoses. This is happening in cities all over this nation. We have an opioid crisis. And you know, I've known a lot of these Angel moms and dads and worked with them over the years, and I have to tell you something. It saddens me that the American sheriffs across this nation, our ICE officers, Border Patrol, all our federal partners, who work every day to keep them safe. Sadly, we couldn't keep these families safe. Not because we weren't doing our job and looking for every resource to partner and collaborate, but because these people here in Congress thought that politics was more important than the lives of the loved ones that these people have lost. And how shameful is that? And who of us in this country ever thought in America that we would elect people, pay them to come here, and that they would be working so hard to make the citizens of this nation less safe than they otherwise could be? We know what's going on the ground. I've been to the borders 3 times. And I know what's happening on the interior, and so do you. And if nothing else, we owe it to these moms and dads, all of us, not to have more people added to the heartache that they feel every day. And let me just add one last thing. We have Angel moms and we have Angel dads. In Bristol County, Massachusetts, 2 years ago, we now added an Angel child, a 2-year-old who was a mom, a single mother. Her father had been deported already, served 10 years for attempted murder. She called her dad and said, I'm not going to be able to be with you on Father's Day, but I'll see you the day after. He didn't like that. So he drove over to her parking lot next to her home, and as she was taking groceries out of the car, he shot and killed her. So now we have an Angel child. Enough is enough. And the people here in Congress need to do the people's work and fulfill their obligation and their oath and the promise that they made, as all of us sheriffs did, all of ICE did, all of the Border Patrol people and our law enforcement partners across this nation, to keep our families and our citizens safe and our country safe. So lastly, we stand with these Angel moms and dads and all the American citizens across this nation throughout our communities. It's time. And it was just said by Mark. When we enforce our laws, we don't look to determine whether or not we're going to respond based on whether somebody's a Democrat or Republican, and neither should they. It's time, America.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to introduce the Angel families to you because of time constraints. They won't have an opportunity to share their story, but each story, if you were to hear it, is tragic. No parent wants to even think about losing a child or outliving a child. The Vargases, whose son, who's only 20 years old, was murdered and set on fire, or Suzanne, whose daughter had a beautiful daughter, had a bright future ahead of her, died from drug overdose. These are real stories, and these are real tragedies that we're facing as a nation. So let's begin first with Wendy and Avery Corcoran. Wendy lost her son, Avery, her brother, at only 22 years old, and not even 2 months ago. Avery, here they are right here.
On December 29th, 2018, my brother, Pierce Kennedy Corcoran, was killed when an illegal alien who had been in our country for 14 years swerved over the center line into oncoming traffic, hitting Pierce's car and causing a chain reaction wreck. Pierce was only 22 years old. Francisco Eduardo Franco Camberny, 44, had no driver's license, no insurance, and was driving a third-party vehicle that was also uninsured. It's not about where this man came from, but how he came here, remained here, and didn't follow our laws. In recent days, it has been stated by some that illegal aliens should not be criminalized because of their status, when in fact that very status, or lack thereof, is a crime in and of itself. People have become deaf to the word illegal and what it means. Coming into this country without citizenship with the intent to stay is illegal. Driving without a license or insurance is illegal. Letting a work visa expire and not doing anything to rectify it is illegal. If we make exceptions on these types of things, we open ourselves up to all kinds of problems. For example, Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey said the other day that illegal aliens with DUIs are, quote, being demonized by Trump and are not criminals. I bet some of the Angel families represented here today would beg to differ with that statement. We cannot turn a blind eye to the kinds of issues that illegal immigration causes in our country. We cannot compromise on our national security. My brother Pierce was a hardworking, compassionate, and upstanding member of our community. He deserved better than this from our country and our justice system. The man who killed him has served little jail time and believes he should remain in our country illegally, fighting his deportation, while all the while we provide his legal counsel. Our world has become an upside-down place where victims of illegal alien crime are vilified by certain sides of the media, and breaking the law has become glorified. I will leave you with these parting words that were found in my brother Pierce's journal, a journal that was wedged between the dash and the shattered windshield of his mangled car. My actions still matter. Congress, your actions still matter. Thank you.
As always. And next, the mother of Dominic, who's become all of our sons, really. She's one of the first to start speaking out on this subject, Sabina Durden.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy Kramer. Thank you, Women for Trump, for making this happen. I wrote a letter to my son. This is the before picture. This is the after picture in the morgue, where I touched his dead, cold, bruised hands for the last time. I'm going to read quick. My sweet German chocolate Dominic, you came into this world with a destiny, purpose, and the biggest smile and heart. God gifted me the greatest and best son a mom could ask for, and he made sure you were given the ability to touch many lives in your short 30 years here on earth. Not only were you the light and love of my life, but you taught me so much and inspired me daily from the day you were born in Germany, January 22nd, 82. I watched in amazement as you treated everyone with such kindness, love, and compassion. My heart exploded with pride when you excelled in school, received award after award, and yet always stayed humble and never bragged about anything you accomplished. Working as a 911 Sheriff's Department dispatcher or as a volunteer firefighter, you have saved and impacted many lives. Your big heart, laughter, and loving Dom hugs became your signature, and everyone that met you, even if it was just for a minute, felt that unique and very real connection. You made so many friends here and all over the world that will never forget you. No coincidence that everyone still calls themselves your best friend. Dominic, your epic pranks and roaring laughter were well known, and your willingness to always help are still appreciated and remembered. Your friends still miss you terribly and name babies after you, talk about you often, and even still celebrate your birthday every year. July will be 7 years since your life brutally ended in California and still leaving many of us trying to understand the why. Why was your killer a legal alien protected for so long? Why did he only serve 35 days in jail with a long arrest record? Why would some of our politicians fight harder for illegals than Americans? Many questions, no answers. The day I received the call about your death changed me forever. I not only was destroyed and broke my heart, but it left me without a purpose to continue this life without you. Being your mom was my destiny and gave me the greatest joy and happiness. You were my one and only child, my best friend, and sadly all of our hopes and dreams were shattered on 7/12/12 at 5:45 in the morning. Never again would I get to hug and kiss you or hear your infectious laughter. I often wonder what you'll be doing today. Would you be the helicopter pilot for the police as you planned? Would you be married, have kids? While I never will know those answers, I do know that I still have a purpose, strength, and a resolve and the power to fight. I'm fighting against what and who killed you and gave me a newfound purpose, drive, and energy. My deep and unconditional love for you in life as in death gives me superpowers to make it through another day and nights filled with many nightmares. Your love for me and your presence that I feel intensely guides me. There's still a lot to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabina. For the first time ever, Americans are more likely to die from an opioid overdose than a car crash. The chances of an accidental opioid overdose are 1 in 96. Susan Stevens lost her daughter to an overdose.
Hi, this is my daughter, Toria Stevens. You can Google her obituary and some documentaries that have been done on her. Toria Stevens was 22 years old. She died January 22nd of last year. I just celebrated the 1-year anniversary of her life, of her death, but it was her life because I celebrate her every single day. She was my golden child. Didn't have to help her with homework. She had everything done before she got home from school. She was absolutely a superstar, my golden child. And she had a poem tattooed on her back, and it was called Nothing Gold Can Stay. It was a Robert Frost poem, and the poem represented her life home until the day she died. My daughter was an artist, a poet. She just was a superstar in school and in sports. She was raped violently, vaginally and anally on August 7th, 2014, and she suffered PTSD. For 3.5 years, we went through hell. She had night terrors, flashbacks. She would tremble. The medicines they gave her, she became addicted to. Ambien to sleep, benzos, Xanax, just to get through the day, to stop shaking and stop trembling. My daughter's life was beautiful until that day. After 3.5 years, I kissed her goodbye naked on the floor, and I promised her that she didn't die in vain. I told her I loved her and how proud I was because she fought it so hard. The latest statistics are 72,000 people died in 2017. My daughter died in 2018, so that she wasn't even included, but that is 197 people a day. That's a 747 jetliner crashing every single day, and there's no outrage. We have to secure the borders. We have to secure our children. The opioid epidemic is real. It is taking the lives, and we're in the shadows because of the stigma, because of the shame. I have nothing to be ashamed of. My daughter was a superstar. That's right. She wrote a poem herself. I'm going to close with her poem. This is something she wrote herself. The Voice of Addiction. Well, it's nice to finally meet you. I've been waiting for your call. I noticed you've been crying, and I've watched you pace the halls. Whatever has been hurting you, I can make it disappear. You have nothing to lose, nothing to live for, nothing to fear. Thank you for your invention. I'll be sure not to leave your side. We'll be very fast acquainted, my naive child. There's no use trying to hide. I should probably introduce myself. I'm your very own addiction. But you cannot be angry with me. I am your own self-conviction. I bet you feel rather stupid, falling right into my lap. I'm a master at manipulation, and you'll never escape my trap. And that trap is killing 72,000 people a year. Please help us secure the border.
I'd like to ask Shelley Woods to come up. And her mom, Kathy. She's coming up.
Sure. Hi, I'm Shelley Woods, sister of Steve Woods. He was 17 years old. This photo right here is a paint roller rod plunged through his head, temple to temple. He was down at the beach with a group of his friends, and he came, a gang of illegals came down to randomly attack him. He was in a car of 6 trying to escape this setup that was set up to get them. They were all ducked down in their car as logs were flying through the back windows, crowbars were smashing all the glass out, full beer cans being hucked at them. So as they were ducked down, this right here is a sharpened paint roller rod that they plunged through his head, temple to temple. And I will tell you this, he was not dead that night, and he was trapped, not in a coma. So for approximately nearly a month, we figured out after the doctors came in to pull the plug on the life support, his vitals went crazy. So he was in there listening. So to be trapped in his body for that long is insane. This happened in 1993. We still have 2 out of 4. There should have been 9. 2 out of 6. There should have been 9 in prison. 3 of them, they didn't have their Miranda rights said right, so they didn't get to go to prison. So 4 out of those 6 are gone, out, somewhere in California. Their families are there, all on the system, all illegal. We have 2 right now in prison, and those 2, one of them is threatening to murder my mother and I, and he has recently asked for clemency from Governor Jerry Brown. So we are still currently dealing with this, and I'm going to go ahead and pass the rest over to my mother, Kathy Woods. Thank you.
I just want to say...
Go get in front of the microphone.
I just want to say that it has continued on. It has never ended. It's a total nightmare every day of your life. It never finishes unless you just want to curl up and not do anything about anything. So you have to fight, and rather than just mention my own story, each and every one of us here who have lost someone do not want those deaths to be in vain. Amen. And the only way we can help ourselves and help our country is to fight for this border wall, for any security, anything to stop illegal aliens coming in here. I know many of us came the right way, and we are losing our own children from someone coming the wrong way. There's so many reasons. We need, first and foremost, a government's first order of duty is to protect its citizens. And protecting its citizens is a part of these illegals coming in. Why has this never happened? Why is this going on for years and years and years? We are here to have our loved ones not all have died in vain, and our way of doing it is fighting for this war and defense of all of us. And not an aside, but for those people out there, there's one other thing I want to mention. Several of us have had these attackers that were in the same schools as our children. And the schools are a dangerous place, but no one says anything. My heart goes out to all those moms and dads out there. One thing you need to do is check who your children are going to school with.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Kion, Michael, would you come up and talk about your son, Brandon? I know you want to say a few words about him. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy Schumer, for making this possible. My name is Kion. This is my son, Brandon Michael. He was killed. His life was taken. He was killed on August 15, 2007. He was on his lunch break, going to cash his hard-earned paycheck, when an illegal, twice deported immigrant hit our son, caused his car to flip. The illegal immigrant got out of the car and watched our son suffer and take his last breath. Because he got out of the car, our family not only had to deal with losing our precious baby, we had to go through a lengthy trial to prove that that illegal immigrant who cowardly got out of the car hit our son. We had to go back to the scene of the crime, which was a very difficult thing, and ask and beg for witnesses that may have seen the accident to come forward. Finally, a police officer that had been on the scene and was out of the country, who didn't know we were looking for a witness, came forward and pointed him out in the courtroom. It only took the jury long enough to go back and convene and come back in the room to convict him, and he was only given 2 years. 2 years for my son's life. Not enough. It's not enough. We shouldn't be here. None of this should be happening. Brandon was an avid Dallas Cowboy fan. He was engaged to be married. We should have been planning his wedding and not a funeral. So I'm here today, and I'm going to keep on knocking on doors. I'm going to keep on screaming. I'm going to stay loud, because our children, my Brandon, deserve better than the justice that he never received. Our son never received justice, and to this day, we don't know if the illegal immigrant has he come back in this country? There's no way we can track it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to invite the Vargas family up, please. Lori and Jean and Kristen, to talk about Jared. They just lost him only 7 months ago.
Good morning.
Hi, thank you. I wrote a small poem and dedicated it to my son Jared. He was brutally murdered and then his body set on fire. He had been in and out of custody, and just roughly 2 weeks before murdering my son, he was given a voluntary deportation order. Here's my poem to Jared. His name was Jared Vargas, barely 20 years old. His life taken tragically, our promise to make sure his story told. His name was Jared Vargas, young life full of dreams, planning his future, a future stolen as of June 18, 2018. His name was Jared Vargas. How I miss his smile. Flying high on them positive vibes, your infectious spirit radiated for miles. His name was Jared Vargas. He's now with God. Angel boy watching over us, gone but will never be forgotten. I'm now an angel mom, wishing this experience on no one. His name was Jared Vargas, and he was my son.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Did you want to? Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
No, these nightmares must stop. All these stories. Our son was born with a spirit of adventure, had a passion for life, a hard worker, great student. His contagious smile will always be seared in our hearts and dearly missed.
Thank you,
Thank
Jean.
you.
God bless.
Handsome boy.
Yeah, he's beautiful.
Thank you.
They don't get easier to hear. Dan Ferguson to share about his daughter.
Good afternoon. I'm from El Paso, Texas. My name's Dan Ferguson. This is my daughter, Amanda, doing what we like to do, laugh until we cried. I'm here as a part of this group. My daughter was killed on Thanksgiving this year by an illegal alien that was caught in 2012, deported. He re-entered, became a felon by re-entering. He was arrested for aggravated assault, put in jail. They released him without having notified ICE for any type of detainer. He went out, he got into a drunken spree. He ran 2 red lights and killed my angel as she crossed the street in a crosswalk. This is a group that you do not want to belong in. I belong to this group for 2.5 months now, and it's just tragic. You know, we are the American citizens that President Trump is trying to protect. We are the people in America. I'm a retired teacher. My wife's an educator. My son's an educator. My daughter was a 6th grade teacher. She was the glue that held our family together. You know, now that that glue has been taken from us, you know, we need to get this border secure. I'm from El Paso. I've seen what the border can do. I was there before the wall. I was there after the wall. I've seen the reduction of crime. I've seen the reduction of illegal aliens coming across the border. We need to finish the wall. Thank you.
God bless you. She's beautiful. Thank you, Dan. Michelle Root, would you come up, please, and share your story?
Hello, my name is Michelle Root, and I have a letter to write that I wrote to my daughter, Sarah. Sarah, Mom has missed you for these last 3 years plus 14 days. I know you're watching over me. I know you're trying your best to keep us going. As you can see with all of the families that are here, we are all fighting as one to get that wall built and to protect the American citizens so nobody else has to join this group that nobody wants to be a part of. Again, I miss you every day, Sarah. Mama loves you. I never thought I'd stand up here and speak of you in the past tense, but I just want you to know I love you more.
This lady lost her husband. We don't hear many stories about that, but it happens as well. Marla Wolf will share her story. Marla, come on up.
Thank you. My husband, Carlos Wolf, was 36 years old. He was a FBI supervisory special agent who had gotten into a car accident on December 8th, 2017. After his accident, Deputy Chief Fire Marshal Sander Cohen pulled behind him, and the 2 men were waiting on the shoulder on the highway when they were hit by Roberto Garza Palacios, a man who had overstayed his visa since 2009, had two DUIs on record and 2 counts of endangerment of life, property, and person, possession of cocaine, a long laundry list of crimes already committed. And he is currently out on a $15,000 bail, still has not been deported, and so we continue to seek justice. The worst part about all of these stories is that oftentimes the illegal alien that committed the crime have already committed crimes, and they are not deported. They are still allowed to continue on with their lives. Meanwhile, we don't get to have our loved ones, but they get to enjoy the rights and freedoms of America. So I wrote a letter to my husband. Dear Carlos, I miss you so much, and we still cannot believe that you are gone. Your life was taken far too soon. You had so much more to give in this world and so much more to do. You dedicated your life to keep this country safe, but in the end, you were not kept safe because of laws in this country that protect the guilty over the innocent. You would be so very proud of our children. Joshua is growing up to be a brave boy, and he reminds me so much of you. And Johanna, our little pumpkin, is as sweet and feisty as ever and is always at peace because in her heart she knows that you are in heaven. I will continue to fight against the injustices in this country for you and for all those who have suffered. I love you and miss you, and you are forever in my heart. Thank you. God bless you.
Catherine Hall, would you come up real quick? Say a few things.
I left my picture at home today, unfortunately, but this is my daughter, Haley King. She was 18 years old when she was killed by an illegal alien in November of 2016. The man, after he was finally found 2 days after my daughter's death, was released within 2 hours of being found. He has since received a 17-year sentence in the state of Arkansas, which he will be paroled in 2 years. That's all he's going to serve. He will not be paroled like the rest, or like a normal U.S. citizen, and monitored. He will be released, and the chances are returned, because right before sentencing, he was allowed to marry a U.S. citizen. I didn't write a poem to my daughter today or a letter, but I wanted to read something that she had written. I am Haley Sayal King. I am a teenager who loves easy, loves those who do not deserve it, and laughs to try not to cry. I, Haley Sayal King, do not care about drama. But remember my name, because I am Haley Sayal King, and one day I am going to do very big things. She never got a chance to do those things. You know, even though the injustice that our family feels from her death, I want people to understand that some of these votes that are coming up, and some of our legislators that you may not agree with their votes, sometimes there's a reason behind them, just like the ones now that are not strong enough and are going to allow a lot of things that we as Americans, I don't think, are willing to let go through. Our state senator, our U.S. Senator Tom Cotton for Arkansas was one of those, and I want to thank him for standing strong and make people understand the votes aren't always what you think they are about. Also, our state senator Linda Collins Smith, she has been there for me and for a lot of us, and still to this day has done everything she can to still help with this, and is here with me to be by my side, and I wanted to thank you. You want to
be with you? Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, thank you. I'd like to ask Judy and Tony Zieto, please, to come up. They lost their son Blake, 20. Are they here still? Vicki Lyon.
It's 2001 by an illegal alien from who was driving on the wrong side of the road and had driven probably 5 cars off before he crashed into her, killing her immediately. In the car was my 4-year-old granddaughter and my 14-month-old grandson. My 4-year-old granddaughter was dead at the scene. She was resuscitated 3 times. Both children were airlifted into Orlando, where my granddaughter underwent brain surgery, and over the next 5 years had to have many medical procedures. Both children are alive today. My husband and I adopted them, and they are 21 and 18. Both of them are, one starting college and one is already in college. The granddaughter, who is dead at the scene and resuscitated, graduated school with straight A's and 4.0, and though she has epilepsy and some issues medically with her legs and things, she is an amazing child. So is her brother, who is now 18. The illegal that killed Nikki was he had 2 broken legs, and he was put into a rehab center to learn to walk again. His family snuck him out in the middle of the night. He has not served 1 day. We do not know where he is 18 years later. And I wrote a poem that I'd like to read to my daughter. 18 Valentine's Day without you, to my daughter Nikki. I send this Heavenly Valentine to you, a message that I fill with love on God's angels' wings from above. My heart continues to skip a beat when I remember your tragic death. I think of the times we will never share. I have to stop to catch my breath. And though I cannot see you or give you a hug and a kiss, the sound of your laughter and the touch of your hand are the loving things I forever miss. Remembering you is easy. I do it every day. But this awful pain in my heart will never, ever go away. Valentine's Day is to celebrate, to give and receive that special love too. For me, your mom, the perfect love in life is the mother's love I still give to you. Without you, Nikki, is grief and sadness unspoken as I spend another Valentine's Day with my heart forever broken. Happy Heavenly Valentine's Day to my precious daughter. All my love until I hold you again in heaven. Fly high, my angel. Love, Mom.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, hon. Bonnie Driscoll, would you come on up?
Hello, my name is Bonnie Driscoll. This is my daughter, Lacey Marie Ferguson. I've chosen to write a letter to her. Forgive me, it's the first letter I've ever written to her. Normally I talk to her on a daily basis. My dearest Lace, I have never written a letter to you, and there is so much to say. So many things have happened since you've left us. Haley is 18 now. She was 3, and it was her birthday that day. She has graduated high school and wants to go into the Army, then law enforcement. Lacey, it scares the crap out of me. But I know it's her life, and I kept my promise to you when I held your hand and kissed you as you slipped away. But I know what I have to do to speak up so other parents don't have to live with the loss that we do. I am asking our president to build the wall. One of the things me and Lacey talked about was the fact that we don't understand why is there gates but no fencing? It doesn't make sense to us. Why are people fighting against having something that keeps them safe? I don't understand that either. Previously, we have watched a lot of political figures having arguments and actually acting beneath theirself, or at least my expectations of them. Frankly, I would love if they would just get together on this, because it is our country. We all live here. It's like being in a boat. We're in the same damn boat. They need to come to terms with this and stop watching person after person after person die needlessly and preventable. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Amy, you're fine.
Marie Vega.
Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, if you're watching me, this is not manufactured. My son was murdered by illegal aliens that had priors. While we were enjoying an afternoon of fishing with his family, his sons, he was murdered in front of them and in front of us. How can you be against the border wall? There is something so wrong with your thought. You just can't understand it. You just can't. This is Border Patrol agent and United States Marine Corps corporal, a patriot, a man that loved law enforcement, that loved his country, murdered by illegal aliens that shouldn't have been here. Now do something about it. Build that wall. Support our president, because we Americans support our president. You were voted into office. You took an oath. Now stand by that oath. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Very well said. Angelina Vargas. Yes.
My name's Angie Morphine Vargas. I don't like Angelina, sorry. My son was murdered on December 29, 1990. He was only 13 years old for 29 days. He was killed by a gang member that was in my city for the holidays visiting his family. After he shot, he actually executed my son. My son was executed. He took off back to Mexico. After 4 years of trying to find out what was going on and who had killed my son, that's when we found out that it was a guy from Mexico. He was here in the country illegally, and they had word that he was coming in and out from Mexico, from California to Nevada. America's Most Wanted did my son's story, and I am so thankful for America's Most Wanted, and I'm thankful for John Walsh. That's my hero. Mariscal was apprehended in the state of Jalisco, and he was sentenced to 20 years in a Mexican state prison for my son. I have become very active in the years, and I do a lot of volunteering in the juvenile halls and in the youth centers. And I'm going to read a letter that I wrote to my son 1 year on his birthday. So every year I add a year, what he would have turned. Dear Ruben, today is one of the saddest days of my life. Another birthday has come and you aren't around. Today you would have turned 41. As the days and years go by, I miss you just as much today than the day you died. Esther and Nando always remember you. They talk about the good times when you were around. Sometimes they laugh and sometimes they cry, but most of the time they just wonder why it had to happen to you. I remember the last time I saw you, how I held you in my arms and I told you how much I loved you, and that if anything happened to you, I would die. But I was wrong. I didn't die. My loss has made me a stronger person in order to try and help your friends the way you told me to do the day you died. I couldn't help Willie the way I wanted to, but I will try my best, even in a world that is unfair. I will always love you till the end of the days when we meet with the Lord. Your mom, Angie Morphine Vargas. I just want to say to my president that I love so much because he's doing everything that he has promised to do, and I have faith in him. Build a wall and build it high. Thank you.
Thank you. Don Rosenberg, would you come up, please?
Hello. My son's name was Drew Rosenberg. He was a law student in San Francisco and was killed in November 2010 when an illegal alien trying to make a last-second left-hand turn ran him over and then backed up trying to flee, ran him over a second time, and then went over him a third time only to be stopped by a very brave man who stood in front of his car, but his rear tire was on my son's abdomen and 5 people had to lift the car off of him. You're hearing, all these stories today, and in 3 days, every one of us could be replaced with somebody else who's lost a loved one to illegal immigration. It's certainly tragic that we're all here, but maybe it's even more tragic that so much of the country's not even listening. Certainly all the Democrats. I was a lifelong Democrat. I consider myself a nothing now party-wise. But I have a message to the Democrats. Pelosi, Schumer, Dick Durbin, and the rest of you. If it's going to take one of your loved ones to be killed by an illegal alien to wake you up to what's right, then so be it. Yep. Thank you.
God bless you, Don. Thank you. Thank you. Melanie Courtling.
Hi, my name is Melanie Courtling, and this is my daughter Amy Courtling, who was viciously and violently murdered by an illegal alien who was driving drunk. It was his 5th DUI conviction. He had 3 previous deportations, but just kept coming back. And I miss her something terribly. He was charged with second-degree murder. He is currently serving 21 years to life in California State Prison, and I miss her. This is not manufactured. It's real. This is real. I wouldn't want anybody else to have to live this and imagine what it would be like to lose your child. I went to this vehicle in the tow yard and saw hunks and chunks of my daughter's flesh on the floor of her car. And this is something that's so preventable. And it's time, it's time to start looking after the American citizens. Excuse me. And I don't know what it's going to take. This is my second time here. I was here in 2007. Amy and I both were. This is her in a teardrop urn. And we're going to do it. We've got to do it. Look at these beautiful faces. Look at all these beautiful faces. Lives cut way too soon, way too short. And it's time to make these fools listen to us. Enough is enough. We need to build the damn wall. We need the security on our borders. And listen to us. I'm fed up. I'm done. I'm sorry. Enough is enough. Why? But I wrote her a little letter on the flight in from the sanctuary state of California, which is shameful to even admit you're from these days. And it says, "Dear Amy, I miss you so much, my beautiful daughter. Life is just not the same without you in it. I miss your smile, your laughter, your hugs and kisses. Taken from us at just 22 years of age. I often wonder what your life would be like had you not been murdered by that damn illegal. I'm sure you'd be married. How many grandbabies would you have had by now for me? I wish you could be here to enjoy your precious little niece Paisley. We always show her your pictures and urn and tell her all about you and how special you are. We've come back here to D.C. once again, fighting for justice for you, and sadly, the many other American lives that have been lost at the hands of illegals. I only pray that our leaders will listen to our pleas for border security and fund this damn wall. I am fulfilling my promise to you, Angel. I will never, never let you be forgotten. I made a promise to her as she laid in that coffin that her death will not be in vain, and her name will live on. I love and I miss you, Amy. Keep on sending me those signs until I get to heaven to be with you once again. Love, hugs, and kisses, Mom."
Does anybody have an extra clean hands?
Thank you.
Build that wall.
Beautiful. She's so beautiful. I'm so sorry. Kenneth Bixby, please come on up.
I'm Dennis Bixby. My daughter Amanda Kate Bixby. It'll be 12 years tomorrow that we lost her to an illegal alien. He was eluding police because there's a sobriety checkpoint, so he took one of the back roads to avoid arrest. And what he did was critically injured 3 people, killed my daughter, and spent 8 hours in jail and was later fined $170 and turned loose. This stuff you're hearing today, a lot of the family members have just lost their people. Okay, I see the raw emotion and nerve in them. We're in front of this beautiful Capitol building and all these buildings around us, and I got to tell you, these schools that we have, these airplanes, the airports, these buildings behind us have never been safer than they are today. So why not our border? Walls work. I've seen the walls around Nancy Pelosi's house. They're huge. If immigration is a good thing, which I think immigration is a good thing, illegal immigration is not. So if you want to welcome those people in, that's great. Why don't we form a party? We'll go over, take the front doors off its hinges, and we'll let those folks in because you like them so much. We have limited resources, and we do not need to be spending it on the wrong people. Every person here that's an angel mom or dad had an emotional cost, but they also had probably a $10,000 bill attached to the funeral. But we're willing to give away the farm and everything else with it. Folks, I'm mad. And if you're not mad, I'm disappointed in you. This is our country, and I want it back.
Yes. Amen. Yes.
Amen. Rose.
I'm sorry. Yes. Agnes Gabinet, please. Would you come up? Can we hold this for you?
Yes, please. Thank you.
It's beautiful.
I know.
A young one.
A young Tom Selleck, yes. Hi, my name is Agnes Gibney. I'm a legal immigrant. My family legally immigrated here when my parents left during the Soviet Union takeover in Hungary. We didn't cross the borders illegally. We didn't jump a fence. We didn't overstay our visas. And neither one of us married an American citizen to come legally to this country. We were fully vetted, and the wait was well worth it. I wrote this small little letter to my son. Ronald, on this Valentine's Day, I wish nothing more than to hold you, hug you. No words are necessary. My eyes, my tears, and hugs would say it all, just how much I love and miss you. As I have cried 1,000 tears over the 16 years and 10 months you've been gone, since your precious life was taken from us, without giving me the opportunity to tell you one last time, I love you, my son. You live in my heart and will live in my heart forever and evermore. This is a picture of my son's gravesite where I celebrated his 46th birthday last month. This is not manufactured. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Cynthia Scout, come on up. Let's hold your picture for you.
Thank you.
Oh my God, beautiful.
Thank you. I'm here to talk about my daughter Shira, and I wrote a letter to her. She was killed on March 16th of 2017 in a head-on collision by an illegal alien who wasn't supposed to be here. It was his fourth offense, DUI. He was on probation for his third offense and also on bond for a deportation hearing. Here's my letters. This is Shira, my sweet baby girl. The day you were taken from us, the most horrific day of our lives. Our whole worlds were turned upside down. I never dreamed I'd be writing a letter to you and sending it to heaven. You're my firstborn. We grew up together. I am so torn because you went home to be with the Lord before your dad and I. It wasn't supposed to be this way. All because of someone who shouldn't have been in this country. One of the lights is gone from our family. Just like a strand of Christmas lights. If one is gone, none shine. Now there is a dark hole in our hearts where you once was. Each morning we awaken with a feeling as if we have been kicked in the stomach. It's hard to take one breath after another. Our pain is magnified by the fact that we haven't seen justice served for your death. The day Alan McGoll and Anaya took you from us, our existence as we know it has ceased. Alan not only stole your life, but destroyed the life of our entire family as a whole. He stole your sister's parents and the grandparents of all the kids. We're not the same people we once were. Your children miss and need you. As you know, your daughters are beautiful, intelligent young ladies, and your little boy is becoming a handsome young man. Shira, your little man blames himself for your death. He feels if he'd have grabbed the steering wheel, you would still be alive. Please ask the Lord to help him through this pain and anguish. Your sisters, Christy and Shira, are at a loss, and grief can be hard to put into words, so they chose a poem for me to read. My dearest darling sister, how can I find the words to say, to tell you how I miss you throughout every single day? I miss our little chats, the way you'd listen to me moan, and how you'd always cheer me up whenever you would phone. Living life without you is so very hard to bear, and I would give it all to awaken and find you standing there. Please know, Shara, as your work here on earth was finished, you touched countless lives. The people you touched with your warmth and kindness will never forget you. Everyone that knows you are suffering. I think this next poem written by your friend and ours sums up the feelings we are going through. I shouldn't ask. Are the mountains not as tall today? Spring flowers not as sweet? Do breezes not still touch my face? Will broken hearts not beat? And the laughter of the child at play, somehow have they not dimmed? The robin's songs, the cooing doves, the melodies have trimmed. My world has moved, my eyes grown dark, my tears they fall in vain. The sunlight on the morning grass, will it not shine again? There in my soul there is a place so empty and so wide that ne'er again will be the same, no matter how I've cried. Sweet memories of you and I cling to night and day. I ask my Lord, just tell me why His love took you away. What horror did He save you from that turned my world so cold? He brought you to His angels' home above this world's abode. Through tearful eyes and broken heart, my breath and strength now fade. I love you, Lord, my voice cries out, but why take her away? And your little Harper, being the youngest grandchild, only 4 years old, she talks about missing you all the time. You always wanted to be the favorite aunt, and you are. She says she will see you when it's her turn to go to heaven. This letter is being written to try to explain the torment, anguish, and pain we live with on a daily basis. We will see you again someday, baby girl, but until that day comes, we will struggle through this life with broken hearts and an emptiness that will never be filled until we can all come home to you and our dear Lord. Love, Mom, Dad, and family. Thank you.
I'll get it. No, don't worry. I'll get it. Thank you. You're so welcome. Laura Wilkerson, could you come up, please? Thanks for being so patient. You bet, absolutely.
Thank you. My name is Laura Wilkerson, and I lost my youngest son, Joshua, 8 years ago. And I can tell you real quick what happened to him, just in a few words. Beaten, tortured, strangled to death, and set on fire by an illegal alien classmate who asked my son for a ride home from school. Josh didn't come back that day. We got an autopsy report. Head trauma, abdomen trauma, and strangulation. Set on fire after death. It fractures family. To Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, you are looking at thousands of fractured families. Shame on you. You can see how we weaken one law, the domino effect. You know, now there's abortion to full term, and then you have somebody sitting in the media speaking about, now let's let the baby live and then kill it. Do you see how weakening our laws, it's just a domino effect. You weaken one. Tired of illegal aliens getting leniency in our court system when we know we would not have that leniency. It's absurd. Real quick and I'll finish. Josh, we cannot believe you've been gone from this earth for 8 years. We miss you and love you more each day. We can still see your sweet, smiling face. As parents, we could not be more proud of how you lived your life here. You're sweet, you're compassionate, you're loving, and you're a joy to be around. While we could never have imagined how painful our lives are without you, God has been so faithful to pour out His blessings and His peace on our family. We remember the day when you were very young that you accepted Christ into your heart. We have been comforted in knowing that the second you left this earth, you saw the face of God. We often wonder what place He created in heaven that was specifically for you. Thank you for leaving behind the scriptures that you left for us to find. They are treasures to us. We look back across your life and know what an inner strength and quiet personal relationship you had with Jesus. We cannot wait to see you again every day. We love you every day.
Thank you. Here's your son, sweetie. Well done. I don't think the Zitos are still here, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, you are? We were looking for you before. Okay, please come on up. Judy.
My name is Judy Zito, and I am from Louisiana. My son was killed over 12 years ago, and this is my opportunity, and I thank Women for Trump for giving me that opportunity to tell about my son Blake. I wrote him a letter, and I want to read it to you. My precious baby boy, Blake Michael Zito. When you were little, you used to ask me, Mommy, are you mad or are you sad? Well, today I'm mad and I'm sad. You see, on November 18th, 2006, our lives changed forever. You were tragically killed by someone who should have never been in this country. You sure do know that the man that ran over you fled the scene and left you to die under his burning truck. He was a criminal, illegal alien from Mexico with a criminal past. He was never deported. His name is Jesus Maltos Chacon. And as of today, more than 12 years later, he's never been captured. What was going through your mind, Blake? Were you calling out to me and your dad? Were you crying and screaming in pain? Did you know how bad your body was injured? But very brave men lifted up the side of the burning truck and pulled you out. I try so hard to not let that go through my mind to that horrific day, but it's instilled in my brain. I'm so sorry, my precious child. I couldn't save you. Your broken and burned body lay on the street till the helicopter arrived to take you to the hospital. Your dad and I were on our way home from running an errand, and I saw that helicopter go up. We were detoured, and I remember telling your dad, please, God, don't let that be one of my kids in that helicopter. I then began calling my children. You didn't answer. When we got home, the phone rang, and it was the hospital. The phone call that all parents dread. They told us you'd been injured. We needed to get there as soon as possible. Once we arrived, they told us you had passed away on the way to the hospital. Oh, dear God, my thoughts is, my child is dead. No, not my baby. God would not let my mind comprehend, and I went in total shock. They said they tried everything they could to save you, but your poor little burned and battered body was so battered that they couldn't. I remember thinking, this can't be happening. They wouldn't let us see you at the hospital. They said we didn't want to remember you like that. My mind could not fathom the reality that my precious son was dead and he was never coming back. Your dad and I would have given you our last breath to have saved yours. We ask ourselves every day, why? Why is this happening? Why did this happen to my precious 20-year-old son who never hurt anyone, who was like a kid at heart, who was so full of life, who loved playing baseball, riding his motorcycle? You were so responsible. You had a full-time job, and you had dreams. You wanted to become a firefighter, and you wanted to save lives. I often wonder what you'd look like today. Would you have been married to your longtime girlfriend? Would you have had children? Now you'll never know that joy. We protected you your whole life, but we couldn't protect you and save you that day. You were taken away from us in such a horrific way. Why, God? Why? The day of the funeral, we had to have a closed casket. But because I was so determined to hold you, touch you, tell you goodbye, they covered your battered body with a blanket, exposing only your hand for me to hold. As I held your hand, I made a promise to you that I would seek justice for you. So now, we go on without you, Blake. All we have of you are memories. I long to see your beautiful blue eyes, your crooked smile. I long to hear your laughter. You were so loved by your sister. She named her child after you, little Blake. Your cousin named his son after you, Dominic Blake. Could somebody please tell me, how does a parent go on after losing their child in such a senseless death due to the fact that our politicians and our judges refuse to enforce our laws? This man that killed my son was had a two-time criminal offense, never deported. They said he was waiting deportation. Only 6 months after the man committed his second offense, he killed my child. We're forever separated from our child. We have to live with the fact that our child's never coming back. For 12 agonizing years, you were taught to be a law-abiding citizen and obey the laws of this country, yet illegal aliens in our country are rewarded with housing, medical, food stamps, and everything else. It's a slap in the face for you and all these angel moms who have lost children, for us trying to get justice for you. Your dad, being a Vietnam War veteran, cannot wrap his mind around the fact that this is being allowed in our country. He fought so hard to protect. Well, in 2016, we elected a new president. And yeah, I voted for him. He wasn't a politician. He was a businessman, and he campaigned on securing our borders. His name is President Donald J. Trump. He's trying to get our country back to law-abiding country, but because of the bottom of my heart, who has helped me and my family for trying to get justice for my son Blake. Our hearts are forever broken and nothing will ever mend it. You will always be loved, precious baby boy, and I will always be an angel mom. Thank you, Women for Trump, for allowing me to tell you about my precious son, Blake. I want justice for Blake. I want justice for all these moms, all these families out here that have lost their loved ones to criminal, illegal aliens. Thank you.
Judy just said she was mad. She's sorry. She doesn't have to apologize. We're all mad. And I want to thank all of these angel families, moms, dads, sisters, brothers, for being here today and supporting this effort. It's just not enough to start building the wall or securing the border. It needs to be done. It needs to be done completely. You don't just build one wall at your house. You have a secure house. And it's like President Trump said, it's not because you're afraid of the people on the outside, it's because you love the people on the inside. And we're going to go and visit with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, see if they'll talk to these families. They want to have their voices heard. And I want to thank you all today. And President Trump, we stand with you. It's time to build the wall. Thank you. God bless.
Yes. Build the wall.